Welcome to the Hike Brown podcast. I'm Stevie W,
I'm Callum.
and today we're going back to franchise wars. We are.
Yay.
This is a little thing we've got going. And today, rather than going for easy ones which we can just rip apart, we are now. I'll let you explain, dude.
Yes, we're going to do, in a way, they're kind of obvious and easy in picking, but it's going to be hard because choosing one of these above the other is almost impossible, but we're going to try. So, today it's going to be A New Hope, which I have, versus Empire Strikes Back, which Stephen has, which is going to be next.
This is going to be interesting. I just want to go on record this first. This is my disclaimer. I consider episode 4 A New Hope to be shot for shot the perfect movie, and yeah, this is a hard one. We were deciding to do this as to who's going to take what. And,
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to say that again. As much as A New Hope is shot for shot the perfect movie, and it has been parodied, and you can literally make a whole film out of the parodies and the homages. You can literally piece them all together and actually recreate episode 4 A New Hope. You know what A New Hope doesn't have? When you refer to a movie, you don't ever refer to it as the new hope of something, but you always refer to a sequel that's as good as, if not better, as The Empire Strikes Back of something. And you know what? Empire Strikes Back is The Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars.
Oh, you dirty bastards.
Yeah. I have 8 pages of notes here.
The problem with this one is because they're both like the greatest example of what they are. So like you've got, I mean, Empire is the greatest sequel of all time. So I might be gushing a bit more than attacking it on this one, but I mean, A New Hope. Like you don't have The Empire Strikes Back without it, do you really?
But then again,
or an entire cinematic movie.
If Empire Strikes Back had failed,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't have modern day cinema as it is today, because George Lucas took all the money he had from A New Hope and ploughed it into Empire Strikes Back. If that had failed, modern cinema wouldn't be the way it is today. Star Wars would have been a standalone movie with a subpar sequel instead of the one that ushered in the modern day blockbuster. I mean, A New Hope, sorry, Jaws did. Jaws, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back. If Empire Strikes Back had failed, you look at all the films that have came since that had sequel after sequel after sequel, and that started with Empire Strikes Back. I mean, you could argue that you've got Planet of the Apes, but Planet of the Apes didn't hit upon something like Planet of the Apes is diminishing returns. Whereas Empire Strikes Back went from bigger to bigger to bigger. And I know we're still talking 50 years plus about Planet of the Apes, but that's more of an older audience. You've got children now that are watching the new trilogy and all the stuff that's on Disney Plus, the animated and the Clone Wars, and you've got different generations. And that wouldn't have happened if Empire Strikes Back hadn't been a success.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I agree with all that. It's just, it's such a hard duology to sort of argue with, isn't it? Like, I mean, using A New Hope or Empire Strikes Back to bash someone over the head with your argument is going to roll over any other film, isn't it? But with them against each other, it's really hard. I mean, obviously with Empire Strikes Back, you're taking the original and you're taking it to the next level. They do the third act battle in the opening act, which is quite a strange thing to do actually, but it really works. And taking the tone darker, I will give Empire that. It grew up. Star Wars grew up with Empire Strikes Back, 100%. But I think, when you say, I miss Star Wars being fun again, like hypothetically, when the prequels were out and we didn't like them back then, or like people argue the new ones aren't fun, which is ridiculous. But the reason I loved Episode 7 so much is because I felt like I was watching A New Hope again, and it didn't. The whole it's just a remake. That needed to happen. We had to get back to the original. Start the myth again where it began. you know, and that hero journey thing, which begins with Star. I mean, there's loads of films before Star Wars that used the hero journey, but I mean, George Lucas was specifically quoting and living by that Joseph Campbell thing when he made Star Wars. So, the reason it is parodied and copied and leached onto so much is because it's quite simple. Cinema would not be the same without these two films.
Three, I would say Return. I'm a fan of Return
Oh,
of the
three,
Jedi.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Return. But I mean, like there is no cinema nowadays without it the way it is. It's that simple.
I remember going. I was a few years ago. I was arguing that Harry Potter and the original Star Wars trilogy are the same film.
I'm 100% on board with that idea. I've been saying that as well. I think even before I knew, you were thinking it as well because it's so obvious.
Yeah, and you still get people arguing that it isn't, and it is, like you said, Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, because J.K. Rowling would have read the same literature that George Lucas did to construct her story. So, and that does go back to Star Wars, but I just want to, as much as you say you loved Force Awakens, for me, out of the 11 Star Wars films that got theatrical releases, Force Awakens is, to me, ranks number 11. But
really?
It really does. And I considered the Last Jedi is The Empire Strikes Back, but to me, and I do agree with you, they are the same films, but it's to me, it's The Rise of Skywalker that gave me that Star Wars. When I say Star Wars feeling, I mean the 77 to 83 feeling. I remember sitting in the cinema after the credits were rolling on the fourth viewing, and thinking that I wasn't sitting in the cinema for 4 times just because it's a Star Wars film. I was sitting in the last time we went to see Rise of Skywalker, it was because it felt like a Star Wars movie. And when I say Star Wars movie, I'm not just talking about it felt like the Return of the Jedi. It felt to me like A New Hope, and because it was fun.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. A while ago I tried to watch, and this goes to show you, I can't remember what the fault I found in A New Hope was, but I knew it was very petty. It was just something that made us. It was sort of like an error. It obviously was so petty I can't remember what it is now. But I've got it in my head. It's something to do with something in the cantina.
I've tried before. It's quite hard, isn't it?
So I'm not going to sit here and say that A New Hope is anything short of brilliance. But it also leads to, if you were to release Empire Strikes Back today, if you were to release A New Hope today, it's a great feel-good movie. But if you were to release Empire Strikes Back today, you get all the trolls coming out like they did after Rian Johnson did Last Jedi, because it's not the feel-good movie that The Force Awakens was. And it doesn't end the way. And when I was watching Empire Strikes Back, I mean, in 1997, I was sitting in the cinema watching these films again, for the first time in over 10 years on the big screen. So that's a lie. Sorry, I saw them in '94 at Elm Street
for about the 8th
anniversary. Sorry, pardon?
I'm very jealous of that fact.
That was when you could fit all the Star Wars fans in England or in Great Britain into a screen that held less than 500 people, and you get when you're watching them, the bit when just as they're about to blow up the Death Star, where the bit with Han Solo, and after that you've got such an emotional, feel good ending. You cry, you've got tears of joy because of how upbeat and fantastic, and when they get the medals and the John Williams score, then Empire Strikes Back, you've got the same period, in terms of duration towards the end. You've got Luke Skywalker falling onto the back of the Falcon, him coming to terms with the fact that Darth Vader might actually be his father, Anakin. That Obi-Wan Kenobi lied to him about how he wasn't, Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father? No, Darth Vader is your father. Obi-Wan telling the truth was Obi-Wan lying. You've got all that sort of stuff going through your head, and
Yoda.
There is another Skywalker. There is another. No, there is another. Who is the other? Is it Han? Is it Leia? You know, it's going to be someone that we already know. Then Han Solo being put in carbonite. You've got Luke Skywalker loses his hand, and then you've got them going off to find Han Solo, and you've got to wait 3 years to find the answers out. Jesus Christ, walking out of the cinema with all these questions, which today, you know, people would be going, oh my God, I've got to wait 3 years to find out what happened. People kick them a stick when they have to wait 2 years between episode 8 and episode 9. So it's...
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, Empire's the brave one, isn't it? Because it's sort of... I think it would if it was released now, it would kind of be like, oh, that one's... I'm not interested in that one because it's too dark and there's not enough answers to my questions. You know, whereas if you release... well, we've proved that if you release A New Hope again, you know, it becomes the third most successful film of all time with The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But I think people find it harder to accept the dark stuff, don't they? I mean, I don't know what... You were there at the beginning of Empire, so I don't know if people felt that then or...
I mean, I was very, very young, and my resounding memory of this is the toys.
Yeah.
And, you know, they had such cool toys. And Boba Fett. I mean, come on, Boba Fett, a background character. There's barely in it. And he gets figures. He gets 12-inch figures. You know, he goes all over everything. And it's just, you know, it was the characters. And you got, you're introduced to Lando Calrissian. Yoda. Yeah, he's so cool when you watch him. What have we here? And Lando Calrissian, minister of this facility. And it's like, oh my God, Billy Dee Williams is so smooth. Boba Fett. You get to see the Emperor for the first time.
Yeah.
Yoda.
McDermott.
Yeah, pre-McDermott. Yeah, definitely. You know, when we were doing these, if it wasn't for the fact that it was the situation which we're in is all over, that, you know, when we all get together again for to do a film night, I'm going to sit down, we're going to put on the original theatrical cuts, run it through a projector so we can watch it on the big screen. I mean, I watched the Disney Plus version because I'm saving the theatricals till we get together and we can just chill out together and watch it. But it's... And having a puppet, having a film being carried on a puppet as a Jedi Master, that's you know, that's unheard of. And the puppetry in Empire Strikes Back is superb. I mean, it was great in Last Jedi, but and even Return of the Jedi. But you find a bit of puppetry that's better than Frank Oz and his crew on Empire Strikes Back. And the bit where the creature, I know you're again going back into mythology, the Joseph Campbell, if I'm right, again, it's the whole thing where the unassuming creature you meet on the middle of the road is the one that gives you the info. Even my fiance pointed out, we know the bit, because she's watching with me, but when Yoda flips on Luke in his little hut on Dagobah and goes, you will be. You've got this cute little character that's playful, then turns sinister as anything.
Yeah.
And that's a puppet doing it. And I want to say testament to Mark Hamill, Frank Oz, Kenny Baker, the operators of R2-D2. They all play their parts in making this character believable. I mean, they have some great stuff in A New Hope, but Yoda alone is the reason why Empire Strikes Back ranks up there as greatness.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing, you've got as well that Empire has, is there's more character development because they spend a lot more time with each sort of group of characters. I think A New Hope's too fast-paced for you to spend any time with the characters to get to know them, you know, in depth. There's no arcs, really. It's not till film 3 that everyone completes their arc. But I think because it's the first one and you're introducing everyone, and because it's a really fast... I mean, me and you said recently, didn't we, that we were surprised by how sort of slow it is in parts, A New Hope, but the overall pace is quite fast to get to that end point. Whereas Empire, you can slow the gears a little bit. You already know them. Let's bring some new characters in and have them grow on that, you know.
The reason the reason why Star Wars: A New Hope, should I say, feels so fast is because we're being introduced for the first time to go. Remember, in '77, nobody knew what Jedi's were, nobody knew what droids were, the Empire, the Force, Darth Vader. It was all as it went along, and anytime you watch it for the first time, but now all this is part of the culture, just like Mickey Mouse is. And your Spider-Man, it's part of you don't have to watch these things, but the film is slow, but it is faster. It's kind of weird, because but we get to nowadays everything and the editing nowadays is bang 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 bang, but back then it seems fast because we're being introduced to all these things, and you go through a fine-tooth comb because you look at the Mandalorian, how in a lot of the characters and a lot of the creatures you see in the Mandalorian as background come from the Cantina, or in A New Hope, or from Return of the Jedi with the Twi'leks. And it's all the cool stuff that you see in the Mandalorian in the background or secondary is from this original trilogy. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the little Ugnaughts Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So it's all, I mean, I say that, but then again, you got the Twi'leks of Return of the Jedi, you've got the Clancy Brown character, which was from the Cantina. All right.
Oh, the Deveronian.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and crap all over A New Hope because when I've just mentioned the word Cantina, when the Cantina, the amount of toys that spawned just because you wanted all the characters from the Cantina, even if they were blink and you miss it. Like Hammerhead, for example. That's just the one that off the top of my head. Greedo, how much screen time does he have?
Yeah, the fact that you could probably make a film about every single one of those characters.
Didn't they do books about them?
I mean, they had Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina years ago, but it was like a short stories collection. But that shows you like the depth of that. They do it even in Empire's got that good scene as well, where all the bounty hunters are assembled, and you know nothing about who any of them are. And I think it's the first time you see Boba Fett as well, isn't it?
In canon, yes, but other than the Star Wars Holiday Special, how we watched.
I mean, it says something that he's the only good part about that whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean that scene as well. You're thinking, oh, I wonder what each of these bounty hunters have done, or like who they are, or what weapons they have and stuff like that. And it's just all you have on them is Captain Piet saying, "Don't need this scum."
Yeah, but this is a test.
And you think, why are they scum?
Because they're bounty hunters. But the thing is,
I mean, but as in, like, you think, oh, what have they done, or like, why is he telling Boba Fett off with disintegrating people?
Right. Boba Fett's Boba Fett.
Yeah, he disintegrates who he wants to.
Yeah. No disintegrate.
And I can kind of cheat and say that he's in A New Hope now, but
yeah, he was only in from '97 onwards, and there's a definite backstory. But the thing is, you can name. There's a load of secondary characters in a lot of films, and I can name a lot of the characters from the Cantina. But the bounty hunters, who you don't actually hear the name Boba Fett. If I'm right, in Empire Strikes Back, the bounty hunters don't have names.
No,
it's the
toys.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know Han Solo said Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi, so it was pointed out to me.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I just always called him the bounty hunter.
Yeah. I've always known him as Boba Fett from as long as I can remember because I actually, I'm going to be really sad. I admit to this, but I actually have Star Wars figures near my Blu-rays, just standing up, and when we put them there, one of them we had to put them as Boba Fett because I grew up with Boba Fett. And so I've always known since I was for as long as I can remember who Boba Fett was. Then of course it's sort of like prior to Return of the Jedi coming out, I could name all the bounty hunters, and I still kind of see if I can do it off the top of my head right now. IGAA, Forlorn, Boss, Zuckuss, of course Boba Fett, Dengar as voiced by
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, in the animated series. Actually, one episode of the Clone Wars I actually do have as a digital download because it's got and it's got Daniel Logan in it as well, of course, Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's a fantastic
So,
episode.
yeah,
I'll give it that.
and the characters are superb, and
Yeah.
they're so memorable. And if you're, I mean, this was, I know Star Wars sells toys, and maybe it's the only film franchise to make more money through toys than ticket sales. Is that these are great toys that a child would want to have, and they did want to have it as well.
100%.
So, I mean, again, this is not detracting from that episode 4, but you know, I gotta say the dialogue in episode in Empire Strikes Back is better than New Hope.
I'll give you that one. Yeah, I mean, it's famously been said that George Lucas's dialogue isn't great, is it? His technical dialogue, you know, when they're talking about, like, it's just funny listening to Mark Hamill on the Empire Dreams documentary when he's saying about the line he can still quote to this day about Aquilea Sullust and saying, like, who talks like this?
Yeah. But then again, you've also got Carrie Fisher, the princess, who can still still recite the Obi-Wan Kenobi speech.
Yeah,
that was always, you know, when they do all the check out the tributes and just listening to Carrie Fisher and her daughter on the Billy Lord reciting the dialogue is absolutely it's brilliant, and that's all from A New Hope.
Yeah.
And the thing that got me when I'm watching Empire Strikes Back is the development in Empire from Luke and Han and Leia at the start right to the end, and it's the bit where the bit that got me is at the end when Han Solo, the whole, you know, the iconic "I love you, I know." Han Solo gets put in carbonite, and just watching Leia holding on to Chewbacca.
It's heartbreaking. Yeah. I mean, maybe in the future we shouldn't like allocate ourselves.
Yeah, we're kind of screwing up.
We should probably just talk about ourselves, shouldn't we, together? Because I'm agreeing with everything you're saying, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But that's another thing I was going to say, that it sort of twists the heartstrings a lot more. I mean, I knew it had to be fun. If you'd have done that with the Dark Tone, it would have failed, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably kind of why Phantom Menace maybe didn't do as well, because the tone was dark immediately, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The whole galactic conspiracy in the background and everything. But I mean, now we've agreed that George Lucas is a genius politically, but
yeah,
it wouldn't have worked in the originals to do the dark one first.
Yeah. I just want to say this is another thing, because I think right now we're changing the tone of this podcast halfway through it. Is that, you know, we can't argue. When we come up with these ideas, you know, and we do these podcasts on one take, and we can't. It's hard when you've got two films that you're both passionate about to actually do it. But it's good something that you brought up just now is about the where we were discussing interesting conversation about the Phantom Menace, how the Phantom Menace, George Lucas is ahead of his time. He must, you know, and I consider now that, and we will podcast this, I hold Phantom Menace as a movie up there with American Graffiti, New Hope, and Phantom Menace is three great George Lucas pieces of filmmaking. I mean, for me, I'm not going to bring Attack of the Clones into this at this point, because I think Attack of the Clones to me is a fun film, but I do not hold Attack of the Clones up there as a piece of pure brilliance filmmaking. It's fun, but I think you got American Graffiti. Sorry, if we go back and scratch it, you got THX 1138. Can't believe I forgot that. THX 1138, which is a superb film if you haven't seen it.
Which is very dark.
Oh, it's brilliant though. The ending shot is superb. American Graffiti, A New Hope, and Phantom Menace. 4 pure brilliance films, and Phantom Menace holds up with the other 3, if you look at it from a certain point of view. I see where I've gone from that. I couldn't resist it. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I think we all sort of went through that phase of not liking the prequels, shall we say, for a bit, and then I think we sort of matured in our own way, as you do with a lot of films. You change your opinion on films all the time, don't you? But I mean, the prequels was something I was really, really glad to rediscover and reappraise, and realize that I don't know if that's the word it is now. That there was something there in the background that he got right. I mean, if Palpatine isn't Trump, then slap me upside the head.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it wouldn't have been possible for him to foresee that exact person, but the idea that history repeats itself and these cycles, all of the Star Wars trilogies are cycles.
Yeah.
They start at one point and they end usually in that point again.
Yeah, it's the three trilogies are the same story told three different ways.
Which is genius. Really.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this now. The one thing that going off subject, now we will go back on the subject, is that the thing that gets me about, and please don't disrespect to J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson, because I think they're fantastic, especially Rian Johnson. And of course I can't say that right, because I think Rise of Skywalker is a superb film in itself. Is that the one thing that got me the post George Lucas Star Wars films is that the character names, I think the characters and character names are so superior in the 6 George Lucas films. I can remember, I always go back to Jocasta Nu from episode 2. How can I remember her name and I can't remember a lot of the names of characters. The secondary character that I can remember mainly from the sequel trilogy is Connix, but that's only because it's Billy Lord, Carrie Fisher's daughter. And
Maz Kanata was always one I remembered as well for me, because I love Lupita Nyong'o.
She's brilliant. She is.
But yeah, I agree. I think, is that maybe though because it hasn't been around that long yet?
No, I can remember names.
We lived and breathed the original trilogy and the prequels, didn't we, for over 40 years now? But is it because this has only been out for maybe 5 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I think the naming, George Lucas had that knack of naming characters.
Yeah.
And I think
it makes them sound sort of familiar, but
yeah,
still strange. I mean, Luke Skywalker, it's quite a normal name, Luke, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just that twist of having the spacey name as well. And yeah, I do agree with that. The names are better. It's like it's going with the other franchise here, but in Star Trek Discovery, a lot of the characters you sort of think, what was their name again? I can't remember. The guy with the red hair,
Yeah.
And it's because like they've had the chance to do that as well. I mean, how many people don't know the crew of Next Generation or the original crew? It's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, you struggle to think of characters that are going to stand out in these sort of, the ensemble groups.
Yeah, they also it's when they're blended into one is always a problem, and in going to Star Trek, the Next Generation, they all had personalities.
Yeah,
and it's the same with the galaxy far, far away, and it's. I'm going to my notes now. I'm sorry because you're. Oh yeah, I've gone back to it's kind of cool. I'm trying to find it. So bear with me. I numbered these as well, so that bullet points are actually. Do you see Emperor? Pardon?
Very organised.
Yeah, because I did this so that I could actually keep up with your review. No, because I wrote something about the Emperor down here that I really want to. I even numbered the pages. This goes to show you how. For the record, if you do research, watch these films multiple times because you end up writing notes for every little thing.
Well, I think these films are so ingrained in our culture and our lives that I think you could probably make notes from your memory, couldn't you? With the original film.
But there's certain things you just want to actually. Oh yeah, got it. It's the smallest note I wrote. When you see the Emperor the first time, yeah? And
we're talking the original Palpatine.
either really. It's because it's just dialogue. Was the key thing is you basically it's an exposition scene.
Yeah.
It's where you find I've watched. So this is the one that's in my mind is the Ian McDiarmid Palpatine scene.
Yeah.
It's like about the son of Skywalker. You know it to be true. It's sort of like if he could be turned to the dark side, and it's basically telling you where they're going to go. You've got
Yeah.
to find Luke Skywalker, who is Anakin's son, and now we know who Anakin Skywalker is. It's rather than it's the Jedi that you killed. It's the son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi, and all that. Then we get to the then you get to the ending, the I am the Father bit, where originally now you know who he is, and anybody who's grown up knows who he is. But then again, you've got the whole aspect which originally, and this is something that I got from a documentary. This was years and years ago, so I can't source it. Is that kids thought that he was lying because he can't, and adults knew he was telling the truth. Vader was, which I think is brilliant. Absolutely superb, which is true. You don't want the hero to be the bad guy's father, the hero to be the son of the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, your psychology is different from childhood to adult, isn't it? So, like, if I'm right, was it children that thought he was lying?
Yeah.
And adults were kind of like, well, that could be true, maybe.
Yeah. It's believable. It's sort of like and it's really more when you watch the next scene when Vader's on the Star Destroyer and Luke's on the Falcon, and he goes, Vader's calling out to Luke. He goes, "Father, son, oh Ben, why didn't you tell me?" And it's all like it's kind of spelled out that where it is going, but you still don't want to believe it. Which also makes me go back to another thing. This is pure brilliance. Is that the whole thing about when Vader says to Luke when Luke's on the gantry and he's going, you can end this conflict and rule the galaxy as father and son. Pretty much the same thing that Anakin says to Padme. We can overthrow the Emperor. He has foreseen this, and we can rule the galaxy. It's
I've never known that before, actually.
So it's just brilliance of Empire Strikes Back.
I mean that. Surely that is the best twist of all time.
It is.
Like movie twist. I mean, it's ironic because most people know it without even seeing it the first time ever now because it's so. I mean, it's been how many times has it been mocked and parodied and I think the one I always remember is from Toy Story 2. When he tells Emperor Zurg says it to Buzz, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I don't even know how many minds must have been blown when that first got dropped.
It's you see it from Luke's eyes. That's not true. That's impossible. Such your feelings, you know it to be true. This is seriously you plus the emotion because you're being the villain is trying to tempt the good guy.
Yeah.
And you can't have that. It's just you hate Vader even more for what he's trying to do to your hero. You do. It's bad enough.
You now know as his son, so it makes him even more despicable.
Yeah, he just cut his hand off. The guy's a scumbag, and I tell you, this is in '97. I remember there's one thing watching films at home, and there's another thing watching them at the cinema. The bit where Han Solo gets put in carbonite, and that carbonite block slams down. I was literally welling up. I would have been I was in my 20s at the time, early 20s at the time. I was like, it's just the sound, the visual, the sound effects on it. Just bang.
That big loud slam, isn't it? Like finality almost. And it's all about the sound effects as well in Empire. I think. I mean, obviously, like A New Hope, you can't fault them. Ben Burtt's a legend, isn't he? And all but I mean, just like the steam in the Vader and the Luke fight and the just the background sort of industrial sound effects of Cloud City. I think that's so fantastic. Like it makes you so on edge because you're thinking like, oh, is that Vader in the background? When he's stalking him.
Yeah.
I think that even though it's one of the most minimal minimalist fights of the whole saga. I think it's my favorite. It's my favorite fight next to Anakin and Obi-Wan. I mean, it's just he's playing with him and dangling it in front of him and getting him, goading him, and it's so frustrating to watch because you know he's literally gonna just tarmac over him.
Yeah, I suppose about my favorite one is of course Luke versus Vader in Jedi, but yeah, the color palette is superb. The matte painting of Bespin Cloud City. When he was when they're going to the gantry point and you get to see down the big shaft, that matte painting is perfect. And
Ralph McQuarrie was the man, wasn't he? I mean, there's so many of the key players apart from George Lucas on the original trilogy that you kind of, I mean, you obviously got like John Knowles, great, and Doug Chiang and people like that, and Neil Scanlon now of the sequel trilogy, but you just like those names are legend, aren't they? You know, Ralph McQuarrie, concept artists, you know,
Phil Tippett,
Ben Burtt, sound editor, and you know, John Williams. Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah.
It's and you know, if you can make someone, I mean, when Darth Vader dies in Jedi, I was distraught because it was. I remember watching. I think for me, Darth Vader dying was. You know, because I think as Jedi as a film, which actually we should do one about a podcast about on its own. But as a film, Jedi is Return of the Jedi, should I say? Is you watch it, you're killing off a load of characters, and you got. I'm going somewhere with this. Is you're upset when Vader turns to Anakin and dies, but he does it as a self-sacrifice. But in Empire Strikes Back, all the shit that he does to Han Solo and to Luke Skywalker, you hate him. He is evil. He goes from being, you know, Vader, from being a lackey to Tarkin in A New Hope to this asshole that's gonna. You don't want to be Admiral Ozzel, Captain Needa, because you know you're gonna get. And then he kills his own troops. And he's like, what the fuck's he gonna do? Pardon my language. What on earth is he gonna do to the heroes? Oh, he's got one in carbonite. If it fails and Han Solo dies, he doesn't care. Because he said the Emperor will compensate you if he doesn't survive. That is a fucking great beat, pardon my language, in Empire Strikes Back. So Han Solo could die. You don't know until Lando goes, he's alive and in perfect hibernation. Vader is horrible.
Do you know what other line always sells it for me as well when he's talking about Han? Is earlier when he says he won't be permanently damaged. It's that sort of cold callousness that he has, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even just early, right at the beginning of the film, when Admiral Ozzel says about, it's just smugglers. They're not. It's just pirate outposts, and Vader just sort of cuts him off and says, "No, the rebels are there."
Yeah.
And no one argues back.
No.
And then, like you say, I think that's probably another weakness about New Hope. It's not, you know, not in any case any that you're watching or anything, but that Vader is just kind of a henchman. You know, you go into, I think when you go into New Hope, I watched Empire Strikes Back first. I vividly remember that. It's the first Star Wars film. So I went back into A New Hope, and I remember my dad saying, "Oh, Darth Vader's not really in this one very much." And I was like, "Oh, you must be joking, Dad." And then when you watch it, he's not. He obviously had an impact in that, or he wouldn't have had such a big part in Empire. But you see what they mean when, like, the real bad guy is Tarkin, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's the Emperor's representative. And Vader is just kind of like a do this, go there, kill that guy. But then it is Empire where he becomes that force to be reckoned with. You know, almost like he's like a Star Wars Michael Myers.
Yeah.
You know, the way he just walks and strides towards you, and you see that billowing cape. I mean, it gives me chills to this day. Like, I think he's the greatest villain of all time.
Definitely. And you got the Imperial March, John Williams score, absolutely fantastic.
Gets his own theme.
Yeah. And it's people don't realise that didn't come into until Empire Strikes Back.
No, it's like this sort of Star Wars version of Eye of the Tiger, isn't it? Where everyone thinks it's there at the start.
Yeah.
And it's not, you know.
That's Rocky 3.
Yeah. So it's the same sort of thing, isn't it? Where I think everyone I know, like when I've rewatched them with my partner as well, she's not a massive Star Wars fan, but when she was watching the original, she was like, "Oh, what? They didn't hear the Darth Vader theme in there." And I was like, "No, it's not until the next one."
It becomes so ingrained into the culture.
And it's almost the Empire theme now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than his theme.
And you've got because they reuse it, and it's just brilliant when you in the. I got it. One of my favourite things, and this is not. I'm not detracting from the film because I love the film truly. Is when you get all these themes revisited on the end credits of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And the Imperial March kicks in. You have these things like sitting in the cinema and listening and seeing. And that's one of the things about Rise of Skywalker that I loved is over the end credits is hearing all these classic themes all in one spot. I was choked.
For me, there's like 3 sort of main themes that define the original trilogy. I mean, for New Hope, it's always Princess Leia's theme. I think Princess Leia's theme or the Throne Room, they vividly remind me of that particular film. And the Imperial March is is Empire Strikes Back. And I always think the Emperor's theme sums up Return of the Jedi.
They're perfect scores. They're absolutely. I mean, for years. I mean, I'm pretty certain I've got the Empire. Well, I remember I've got the Empire one on vinyl, the original one, and I'm lucky enough to have the double CD versions of the trilogy ones, the original trilogy, should I say now? Kind of confusing when you go for years saying that the one trilogy and now there's 3 of them, and
yeah, it does sound good.
And they're flawless. The original trilogy scores. I mean, I love the other ones as well. Don't get me wrong, but as bodies of work, but A New Hope. I'm going to go because we've been kissing Empire's ass for way too long. But I just want to say that Empire does have the depth. It really does, and
yeah.
But we wouldn't be sitting here discussing this if Empire had failed, which today I think it would have. I really do, because I think that the fanboys out there after A New Hope would have just tuned out because it's not what they wanted.
I mean, if A New Hope, if Star Wars as an entity wasn't around as it was then, if it had come along now as A New Hope, I don't even know if that would have done as well as it did back then. Just because of the way everything is now. I mean, the way everything is now is kind of because of that whole series, isn't it?
Yeah.
In effect.
Everything.
How many times do you hear people say, "Oh, well, it's not like the originals"?
People, when it comes to sequels and spin-offs and stuff, I want the same but different.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. No, I want it more different. That's like a repeat. It's A New Hope all over again. Okay.
Yeah.
We're giving you this. No, that's too different. I don't want it like that. I want it to feel like. So we give you the third one then. Okay. You want it the same. You want it different. There you are. No, but I don't like that because it's too much like. Just Jesus Christ! Can't you just sit down and enjoy the film?
Or just don't watch it.
Yeah.
If it frustrates you that much, don't bother. I think we have been kissing Empires off a little bit too much, haven't we?
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about that absolutely would never have happened without A New Hope is the whole merchandising situation.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know what sort of. Sometimes I think George Lucas is a time traveler. Like the type of time traveler that goes to look what the lottery ticket numbers were.
Yeah.
Because how would you know? I mean, it was a massive gamble to take the entire director's salary away for percentages in the merchandising and the sequel rights. I mean, Fox. I mean, it's been said loads of times, hasn't it? Fox were laughing, saying, "That's a great deal. You can have that." No one likes sequels and merchandising.
Because it's a way to get collateral to get your sequel out. Even if you only make a small amount, you could still put that to get in your sequel. If you don't,
I mean, but who would even have the forethought? I mean, because I don't even think he knew it was going to be as big as it was. I mean, he was quite a famously skittish and nervous person, wasn't he?
Yeah. But he just wanted enough so he could make a sequel. He had his vision. He wanted his vision, and you would do whatever it took, even a little bit. if you only had £5 here, £5 in your pocket to make something is better than no. And if you have to have creative control over sequels, Star Wars was piggybacking on the back of, I can't remember the name of that film again. I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, The Other Side of Midnight.
Yeah, it was piggybacking on the back of that, because studios had to agree to take Star Wars if they got that big art house cult film that was supposed to be made. It was supposed to generate all the money. And
yeah, I mean, Other Side of Midnight was supposed to be their A game. Like that was the film they poured all the money into. Because I mean, if you go back to like the 70s and the late 60s, a lot of films were adaptations of novels.
Yeah.
And that was doing really well in Hollywood at the time. And that was an adaptation of a novel. And you know, how many people remember the name of that film? Well, you've just proved that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who would have guessed that the B-side movie was the one that was going to be the you know, Disney did this with Lion King and Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Pocahontas was the A film, and Lion King is the B film, and it's undoubtedly the most famous of the lot of them, isn't it?
Lion King is, yeah.
I mean, even if you don't like it, you have to admit it's probably their crowning achievement in their Renaissance period.
Definitely. I mean,
and the same with A New Hope.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have guessed this little over budget, still quite cheap $13 million film would go on to be the most expensive, or the most lucrative film ever made at some point, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's because it was coming out of a dark period. America was in the back. I'm quite want to go into the whole documentary thing, but because it's been repeated so many times. But
I always repeat it.
Yeah, it's the thing that was needed. We needed, the world needed fun, and it goes back to. I mean, this goes back to something that I'm going to go a bit off subject again slightly. It was an argument that came out about episode 8, and you're not fond of Canto Bight. I love Canto Bight because I needed Canto Bight in episode 8 because I came in as a fan community. We were in the hardcore fans. I'm talking here. I'm not talking about the people that would just turn up to cinema just to see it because they want to see a blockbuster. I'm talking about the Star Wars fans that are just under a year from the passing of Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher. So we were coming into a film that needed. The Canto Bight was the release because Carrie Fisher loomed all over episode 8, not Princess Leia.
100%.
Carrie Fisher was looming all over that film, and it's every scene for me she was in was just something that I'm hoping. Every scene she was in, I hope this is not the last scene in the film because and you know when you see her right at the end, it was all. Then you have the Luke Skywalker sacrificing himself. So in this one emotional thing that's weighted down by baggage that's not related to the narrative of the film with Carrie Fisher, and then you have a Luke Skywalker character death. The Canto Bight scene is the fun scene in the film, and it's something they needed. Going back to the 70s, you needed, with all the dark films and where America was and the Depression in the UK, all the stuff that was going on in the world, you needed a good fun film, and Star Wars was that. A New Hope, was that.
I mean, even
came at the right time.
Science fiction before that was dark and depressing, wasn't it? It was things like it was Logan's Run or it was Planet of the Apes. And Planet of the Apes is good fun, but
still dark.
The tone isn't fun, and things like the Omega Man and what else did we have? 1984 was later. But everything was Orwellian then. It was all, the future is nothing but gloom. Soylent Green. It was things like that. Rollerball. And then I think you're right, like we needed it, but I think the weird thing is psychologically we didn't know what we needed, we just knew we needed it. And a lot of people have said this in interviews, like that are adults now, have said it was pretty gloomy time to live in America because of Vietnam, because of Watergate. You didn't really have that much faith in your leaders, and we didn't either. I mean, it was probably, I wasn't quite Thatcher, but it was, it was quite depressing in Britain
Yeah.
at the time as well. And I think, like, it did come along and sort of made people think this is how I remember cinema when I was a child, like the older lot. And then the kids were obviously saying, well, this is great. Like, I can't get enough of this. And then once you saw it, you knew that's what we've been waiting for. That's what we needed. We didn't know we needed that, but we do now.
We had our own mythology to hold on to.
Yeah.
It's you know what I'm watching. It's kind of funny. I watched. I have memories, from '97 and stuff. Special editions weren't supposed to generate much money. That's why rather than releasing them every 6 months, they were released pretty much two weeks after each other, I think it was. And it was just basically needed to make money to make the production costs back in terms of what they're touching up and the effects. And this was at a time where Star Wars was still in its dark times. The special editions when they came out in '97 was when it started to really re-emerge before '99. And sitting in the cinema and watching the bit where they blow up the Death Star, that really, with the sound cleaned up and everything, you're on the edge. You see, it's going because you've seen it hundreds of times before. You just let blow this thing go, bam, 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 boom. And the throne room, and you just get welling up. And this is the same with The Empire Strikes Back, even though it's a downbeat ending. As soon as John Williams' theme kicks in, you're just like, wow, and it's so emotional, and it's just gets to you.
Yeah, it is, and the whole Leia theme, Leia and Han theme at the end as well.
Yeah,
I like the way, I think all of them end this way, but where in the original trilogy, each one ends with the good guys gathered together.
Yeah,
like
all the films do.
And Empire is especially more poignant because they've just had a shit day, basically.
Yeah.
So seeing Luke with his arm around Leia and the droids are there, and you just think Han's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
He's gonna be fine. Chewie and Lando are going.
Yeah, they're doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and obviously at the end of Return of the Jedi, it's even more of a celebration because everyone is celebrating and the Empire's gone. You need that sort of pick me up at the end. I think even the prequels have those little. Even Revenge of the Sith, there's that glimmer of hope because Luke's there, so everything's gonna be fine now. In 30 years or so.
I mean, you got the throne room and was it the palace as well? Yeah. You got the throne room and say throne room. I mean the bit of the peace in Phantom Menace, which is the same as Yavin 4. You got the bit in Attack of the Clones where Padme holds on to the metallic hand first, and you've got the droids flanked by Padme and Anakin, which is Luke and Leia and Empire Strikes Back. And in Jedi, you got but even like you said, you got New Hope, you got Aunt Chloe and Aunt Beru with Luke. Just as you've seen Bale and his wife, with Leia.
Yeah, and the so-called Harry Potter scene.
Yeah, and
which is ironic.
Yeah, because it's again Joseph Campbell, but you need light. It's like you do need the light as you go outside the cinema. You've got to know that everything's going to be all right. You can't leave the cinema feeling bad. You've got to have some semblance that the bad guys aren't going to win.
Yeah, I mean that's Star Wars has that sort of classic storytelling vein, doesn't it? Where you've got the perfect 3-act structure in each one, haven't you? Problem. Establishment, problem, then solution. And that is like the traditional thing that we liked with storytelling. I mean, I think it's only a more sort of recent thing, and when I say recent, I mean 70s, late 60s, and now, where we're starting to like anti-heroes in our film and weekend, and I think Christopher Nolan's responsible for a lot of that as well, with how popular the Batman films were, with making making it dark.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Tim Burton did do them dark, but there was still those moments of, you know, like sort of silliness that made it
Fun.
funny and acceptable.
For the record, if you haven't listened to any of the other podcasts, you'll never hear us disrespecting to a point who our favourite Batman is, Michael Keaton.
Exactly, yeah.
So we are not going to go. If you want to listen to, go back to one of our other podcasts and listen to what happens when two people actually have the same opinion on something. 10 minutes of your life, but hey ho, it's not that bad. You just hear us kissing Tim Burton and Michael Keaton's ass, basically. But
And rightfully so.
yeah, because they're good. But I just, one thing we haven't touched on, I just realised it because Alec Guinness and Peter Mayhew, not Peter Mayhew, but I was going to say love for him, Peter Cushing.
Oh yeah.
Evacuate? What a moment of triumph!
Yeah, I love Tarkin. I mean, the thing that makes him even more endearing is if you watch bloopers where he gets his lines wrong, and he just looks like such a nice guy, like to work with. You know, because he's so British and so like, well, damn it, is that line again? You know, I love Peter Cushing. I think he's a wonderful human being.
I love. It's just when I'm a kid, I just say the thing. I just want to say, when you're young, Darth Vader's the villain. You don't really pay much attention to Tarkin because he's just one of the suits. But when you get older, you realise he is pure brilliance. Yes, and he's just Princess Leia and Tarkin together. You want to have more dialogue. When you get older, I know when you're younger, it's just dialogue scenes. You just want to see Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I want to see some lightsaber duels. And Han Solo is so cool. But when you get older, it's just sort of like, wow, with Carrie Fisher and Peter Cushing, when they're together, you just want more and more dialogue between those two because she is such a
sad.
Yeah, she's like
they just bounce off each other so well, don't
they?
And I must admit, I'm not a massive fan of Alec Guinness in a lot of other things, but I do. Yeah, it's like a role you can't imagine anyone's playing, isn't it?
He's brilliant.
I mean, Ewan McGregor was perfectly. That is Alec Guinness when he's young to me.
Definitely.
It's so. Do you know? On the flip side of watching bloopers with Alec Guinness, that's where you want to watch an actor get extremely frustrated with other people making mistakes. It's so funny with how he has a stone face whenever Harrison Ford or Mark Hamill are goofing around. It's acting.
I'm gonna have to go because I know there's a lot of these things on Disney Plus. I'm gonna go through those soon, but after, you're gonna be happy. I'm watching Clone Wars at the moment, so as soon as I finish watching Clone Wars, I'm gonna, which will be for another podcast. We've been going nearly an hour, and we've basically what's supposed to be we started out as a versus franchise wars. This is what I like about what we're doing, and I'm still going to classify this as a franchise wars. Because this is what it started out as. I always knew this was going to be a risk when we were discussing this the other day. Is that this was going to be the hard one for me because it's easier when you've got we did Alien versus Aliens and Attack of the Clones versus Revenge of the Sith and Phantom Menace, where there's a clear divide between us. It's one of us roots for one or the other. But when it comes to something, and I'm so glad, and thank you listeners for listening to this because this has been really fun for us to do. When you got two films that you truly love, I know it's easier when you see a lot of stuff on the internet where it's slating something that you don't like. Which to me, I don't want to be sitting here listening to someone slating something that either they don't like because you can become really petty. The thing is, this has been fun finding something that we both truly have a passion about, and trying to figure out how to do it. The whole you take A New Hope, we take an Empire Strikes Back, and how it's just blended in the halfway marker into we're just going to just discuss Empire and the New Hope, and it's. They're two separate entities, and it's been this. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it's gone differently. I think the versus thing people are going to automatically assume there's an antagonism there, isn't there? But I mean, these are two films that are so intrinsically linked, and they're both universally acclaimed by everyone. I mean, I don't know many people that don't like either of these films.
I don't know.
So it's always going to be hard to pit them against each other.
I go through, this you go through phases. There's something we touched on earlier. Is you got with Phantom. I use Phantom Menace for example to start with. When Phantom Menace came out, everybody loved it. It was the whole rose-tinted glasses things. Then as it progressed, a lot of people, myself included, saw it as being very weak, pod race. And then you get to the point where you read between the lines and you see how the years have actually said, well, wow, George Lucas was ahead of his time. And which goes on to how I feel about it now. But when I was growing up, because I'm going with this, is to me, A New Hope was Star Wars as it was at the time, was just this great film. Then when Empire Strikes Back came out, for years and years, Empire Strikes Back was my favourite movie. Then, and my favourite Star Wars film. And then you go to when you reassess it, and I define and I still maintain this even to this day. The greatest film that says to me, "What's your favourite film?" I say, I really can't answer this. What I define as a favourite film, I think for years I've said that Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End to me is one of my favourite movies. The greatest film ever made is Schindler's List, and that will never change unless something comes along that's even better than Schindler's List. But if you want the most perfect film ever made, it's A New Hope. I've always maintained that, but you want the perfect sequel, it's Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So, but if I was to pick a Star Wars film as to being the defining one, it is A New Hope, because shot for shot, it's the perfect movie. But Empire Strikes Back is the Empire Strikes Back of every. It's like when you say action films, it's the Die Hard on a thing. Die Hard on a boat, and it's like that. But Empire Strikes Back. When you hear of a sequel that is better, if not, we've already covered this, but we've already covered this. But Empire Strikes Back is the perfect sequel. A New Hope is the perfect film.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So and we would not be sitting here, and all you fanboys out there that just came onto it expecting the whole versus, the whole, like you found where we come on. I'm not going to name things because they wound me up so much at the time when episode 8 came out and episode 9 came out, and all these fanboys just sitting there behind the computers slating them for 45 minutes to an hour, and I didn't watch all.
Almost more time than you'd spend on praising another film, isn't it?
Yeah, I like what Kevin Smith said about why would I spend all that time slating a film I don't like.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
And yeah, if you can even find nobody goes out of the way to make a bad movie.
No.
So, but I would love to just take these films, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, and just it'd be good to see them to a modern day audience's eyes. That it's never been part of the culture.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how they would react to these films that people are always going, "Oh, this is such a great movie," and all. Yeah. Final thoughts?
You can't really. What can you say that's not been said before? I mean, they're both. We said it earlier, didn't we? There's no cinema as we know it without either of them. So I think that's the highest praise you can heap on them.
I've got a little question just getting to me because where we end it. Your favourite scene in Star Wars Episode 4: New Hope and favourite in Empire Strikes Back?
Well, in The New Hope, it's my favourite shot of all time. The whole twin suns and standing and looking out. I love that scene. But Empire, probably the I Am Your Father thing, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah, A New Hope, and this is going more feeling. It is because it always got to be the bit that the feel-good release at the ending of the throne room.
Yeah.
When you're walking down, because you walk out the cinema, and Empire Strikes Back. I really, I love Han and Leia's relationship. Don't get me wrong. Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford is superb, but the bit where Yoda introduces himself to Luke Skywalker, but it really hit home yesterday about how fantastic that scene is. So I'm gonna go with meeting Yoda.
Yeah, I mean, Yoda still looks fucking flawless today, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Some films don't even look that good
No.
with CG now.
I'm looking for faults in that scene yesterday, and I couldn't find any. So yeah. But I think you've given me an idea for another podcast where we pick scenes from films. You said about the Twin Suns, and that would be a good thing for a future podcast where we dissect our favorite film scenes.
Yeah, great shots. Yeah.
So I'm Stevie W.
And Callum.
See you all soon.